So that shiny new game just came out, Zoochosis, and you want to know if it's worth your time, right? Well, let's take a look at the game for some first impressions. Keep in mind this is not a full review, this is a quick look at the game. I played the game for about 2 hours, so I'll show some footage of the game while describing it and giving a few thoughts on it. I feel like this game isn't that scary or that hard. It seems to me that it's more of a novel zoo experience and less so a horror game. I played at 1440p max settings with DLSS on ultra quality with a 3080 Ti, and everything ran fine for me other than a few stutters here and there. I believe my FPS was in the 100 to 140 range. In this game, there's a body cam type of camera. However, when I had that on, the camera felt less responsive to me, and when I turned it off, it felt more like I thought it should. I prefer a normal camera over a body camera, so I played with the body cam off, which is in the settings. Also, this game is very short. I beat the game in 2 hours, and then I could start a new game plus that had a new animal. The main character just got a job at the zoo, and then Doc, the guy interviewing him, knocks him out and states that he took care of his health while he was knocked out, and also he took his phone. For some reason, the main character just accepts this. I found that weird. Also, the main character states that he thought it was an interview and his wife is waiting outside for him. What happens with her is this: once Doc leaves you alone to care for the animals, the wife will knock on the door and talk to you. Since your character's family is poor, you will grab a package labeled meat and put it in the drop box for her. Now his wife and daughter can have some real food again. There's a food area in the hub, which you'll need to go back to anytime that you run out of food. There's 4 different foods in there, and your brick trolley can hold 6 packs at a time. The gadget trolley holds all of your gadgets that you'll need to care for the animals with: a poop vacuum, a feed box, a syringe, a dart gun, and a few more. The train itself has a few different stations in it. At the front of the train is the control panel, and that lets you go to different habitats or back to the hub area. Then there's the veterinary station inside the train, which you can use to diagnose the animals at and then craft the correct medicine. You'll then load the medicine into the dart gun and shoot the animals with it. Right next to that station is the donate blood box, where you'll put the blood that you take from animals. That'll be used to help diagnose them. Then the kitchen factory station, where you'll be using those slabs of food that you loaded. Each animal requires different amounts of food, so you'll be using the saw to cut and guess the correct amounts. If you're too far off, then there's a chance that the animals won't eat the food. On the outside of the train is a biomaterial receiver, which is where you put the poop that you vacuumed into. That also helps with the diagnosis. At the same spot is where you can put vacuumed parasites. If you're ever stuck in the game, you can just pull up your PDA and look at the missions for what to do. Once you care for a couple different animals, the story will begin again. There's a drop off for food, and once you pull that lever, it turns out that the meat slabs are actually made from human meat. That's because there's a creature named the mother, and parasites escape the mother and infect the zoo animals. Once that happens, the animals have a need for meat. Also, the first body that they send to get grinded into meat slabs is actually still alive. She screamed for a moment. I'm not going to show that part though, as I had the nudity filter off. She was alive though, so that turned into murder once I grinded her up into meat slabs. Also, the main character gave the meat to his wife and daughter to eat at home earlier in the game. I'm sure they'll love that human meat. When Doc knocked him out earlier, it turns out that he infected the character with a parasite from the mother, so that's now his incentive to keep going. If he does what they say, Doc says that they'll remove the parasite. There's not really any exploration in the game. You can find a few chemicals here and there to help craft medicine, but at the same time those aren't really needed, because once you run out of chemicals, you'll just automatically get sent more to the hub. Once I got to the gorilla habitat, that's where I encountered my first monster. Some animals, like the gorillas, have to be tranquilized first before you can draw blood. It doesn't tell you that though. I was just trying to draw blood and then I couldn't. And then I remembered seeing tranquilizers in the crafting tab, so I tried that and it worked. I was doing the usual poop cleaning, temperature, blood, hearing, and then when I was ready to apply the medicine, I went back to the gorilla habitat and the sick one had turned into a monster. It was about double the size and had a huge mouth. It also had 3 hearts, which was its health. Of the few monsters I've encountered, they don't seem to leave the habitat at all, so I could stand in the hallway looking in and it would never come out and attack me. The game doesn't tell you what to do again, but I went back and crafted 3 doses of lethal injection, 1 for each heart. Honestly, killing it was incredibly easy, disappointing even. Next was the penguins, and there was another infected that turned into a monster here. This one could fly and even pick me up and drop me, but still, the battle was disappointing to me. It wasn't hard or scary. I again killed it with lethal injection darts. The game ends after the penguins, which is weird because that's only half the animals that it shows on the control panel in the train. For the ending, since I gave the wife the meat, she came back saying it was delicious and that their daughter ate 3 servings of it. And then you can hear Doc outside knocking her out, and then he walks in and knocks you out too. Doc then feeds the main character and his wife to the mother, and then the game ends, saying that both of them died and that their daughter is now an orphan. I mean, the story is incredibly short, but also really messed up in that short amount of time. You feed human meat to your family, then both you and your wife get eaten from a monster, and now your daughter is an orphan. The end. What a nice family-friendly message this game has. But after that, the game ended and it said I unlocked another animal, which confused me as I just beat the game. Back in the menu, there's now a New Game Plus option. I selected that and it seems to replay the same story, but this time there's a new animal, an elephant. Also, I think you could just not give the human meat to your wife, which may in turn lead to a different ending for the game. I'm unsure why they'd lock new animals behind beating the game, but after beating it once, there's still several locked. Maybe that means you have to keep beating the game in order to unlock the others? I'm unsure about that. The game's graphics look pretty good. I had no issue with that. Performance is mostly fine too. The hardest part about this game is using the symptoms to find out the correct medicine. Everything else is really easy. I feel like this game is more of a zoo simulator with a messed up story and some monsters that attack you very infrequently. If the game had all of the animals unlocked to begin with, and if the story was longer, I'd call this a decent little game. However, that's not the case here, so I'm left feeling mixed about it. The tasks are pretty repetitive and the story is short, as well as being kind of bland. The horror aspect is non-existent basically. The graphics are nice, but other than that, I think the whole game is average or below average. I like some of this game, but I think this game gets an overall dislike from me, though that's my personal opinion. Whether or not this is your type of game, I'll see you on the next one.